So what are we talking about? Basketball?
All right, y'all, we back. Sorry for the late hiatus. Shit just got a little busy these past few weeks, but we back at it, and we're here to talk about the shit y'all been seeing lately. All this spew and this horrible excuse of basketball we want to say is great, but it's really not. Um, yeah, if you want to get into it, we can.
Yes. Yeah, like you said, sorry for the hiatus. Your boy Quespero was under the weather for a few weeks, but I did get to watch a little bit of basketball during that time. And I don't know if this episode is going to just be us trashing the game as what it's become, but it's awful to watch right now, at least for me. And I find myself feeling like more of like an old head. I'm only 29, about to be 30, but I feel like I'm like that old dude who can't let go of what basketball used to be, like the purest, in me. Um, but this era is just god awful for me to watch as a fan.
Yeah, it's really just been nothing but threes and threes after threes, and you could say that that's just what the new game is, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem that exciting to watch. For me especially. For example, Steph Curry had what, 250-point games and like a 40-point game where like he hit at least 11 to 12 threes each of those. And that's cool and all, but I don't know. I just don't. And granted, I get it. It's a star league. You want to see the star players be star players, but I don't know if I was as a player and like obviously I'm a fan, but I'll being from the inside outside to looking in, I don't know. That doesn't look that entertaining to me. Just to keep seeing someone just come down, do a shake move or five, and
Right.
Chuck. I mean, that's cool. Don't get me, and I guess Chuck is a hard word, I guess, for someone like Steph Curry, because yeah, I mean, he shoots a lot of threes, but I mean, at the same time, it's still chucking. I mean, what considered a bad shot for us growing up is considered a good shot today, no matter who's shooting it. Honestly, it could be anybody. It's going to be considered a good shot.
Well, yeah, no, that's why I feel like I was born like 10 years, maybe 5 years too early, to see the amount of freedom these players get to have. Obviously, I'm a little jealous. LaMelo in high school could literally point at half court and then shoot, and he went viral, again for hitting that. You remember that?
Yeah. Oh no.
And
Yeah.
then a lot of people didn't see the other time he did it, pointed at half court, and then got blocked to start a game.
Yeah.
But no one sees that, or no one cares because that's not going to be on the highlight reels. But yeah, with Steph Wardell, excuse me, um, he's a good shooter, but he's absolutely taking advantage of being in an era that allows, and in a situation that he could shoot whatever he wants with the utmost confidence and without any repercussions. I would love to see Ray Allen get a chance to shoot 14, 18 a game. I would love to
I
see
think
Reggie
that'd be
Miller.
more entertaining than Steph Curry doing. To be honest with you.
Just I want to see more than just coming down and trying to shoot a three. Well, and my biggest issue is not necessarily with Steph Curry shooting threes or Clay or the proven 3-point sharpshooters in the league, but it's more the guys who aren't sharpshooters. Terry Rozier shouldn't be shooting 10 threes a game in any era on any team ever. But that's the game that we so like you got dudes like Terry Rozier or Corey Joseph or something Bridges or some random dude coming down and just jacking threes. And I feel like the game on top of the 3-point shooting, when I watch NBA basketball now, I feel like I'm watching a pickup game. And it could be regular season, but it literally what do the coaches do in the NBA at this point? Like you're literally just you let your dudes just run around the perimeter, pick and roll. Everything's just positionless switch basketball, and you just drive and kick and then basically shoot a three at the very least. So to me, I'm like watching a just kind of random pickup game with not a lot of sense of urgency or effort being given. It looks like
Right.
You'll literally watch dudes. I'll focus in on certain players and they just stand next to their dude guarding them in the corner. I'll do that for 20 million. I'll just stand there
Right?
and, guard, Nicholas Batum, who's the fifth option on the floor and not getting a touch unless someone rotates off of him. And he's
We
shooting
gotta talk
probably
about that guy
29%.
too.
Like for me,
I'm telling you.
like my thing is just the game is what happened to all the actual nuance and half court sets and schemes. There is no scheme anymore. It's just pickup ball. And I think one way to fix it, other than everyone trying to replicate what the Warriors did for 5 years, is the refereeing. I personally think it is atrocious that the refs baby the offensive side of the ball. And we all know it's a business. And, LeBron just blowing by somebody and getting a dunk is going to put more asses in the seats than him getting locked up and settling for a step back jumper that he can't hit.
Yeah.
But to me, the purist in me is like, man, put Tracy McGrady in this era and let's see what he could do. Put Larry Bird in this era because the officiating is just awful. Like, I don't know if you feel the same way, but my goodness, watching makes me want to throw up.
Oh no! Let me put this into perspective. For I mean, I'm you already know, but just let me just throw this out there. I told you that this player had 13 points in the first half, plays for the Milwaukee Bucks, had 13 points in the first half, and 9 of those points came from threes. Would you know who I'm talking about?
I don't, but I can imagine it'd be any player in the NBA at this point. But who was it?
Brook Lopez. And for those that don't know Brook Lopez, because we kind of grew up seeing him from Stanford. He was with the Nets.
When I was a huge fan of that Nets team because they had Joe and Kevin Garnett, and there was the
and this is back when it was New Jersey,
right?
Because he got drafted to them when they were New Jersey. He was a post player. He was a skilled big man who had all the moves that you could think of. His game wasn't saucy, was none like that, but he was skilled. He's going to get you a bucket in the post, and he could shoot his little mid range.
Good player.
And for me to give that analogy, and for you to be like, at least when I saw a stat in the first half, I was like, so he had 13 points, which 9 of them came from 3-pointers, and he shot through. And I think he's turned himself to a decent 3-point shooter for this era. So he had to find a way to stay relevant in this game.
Yeah.
He shot 3 for 5 in the first half from 3-point line. And I'm like, man, literally 10 years ago, he was not even 5 years ago, he was in the post.
Yeah.
No one thought of him to even shoot a 3-point at all, a 3-pointer at all. And look at him now. And that's just crazy to me because he looks like he shouldn't be out there. Like, just him physically doesn't look right at the 3-point line, if that makes sense.
Right. No, I heard Joe Johnson talk on a podcast about how a lot of their offense was through Brook Lopez in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Like on the
because
block.
It was run through the post, let him do his thing, and then he's gonna kick it. And then wings do what they got to do when they get the chance.
Yeah, because Joe Johnson he could ISO, he could create his own shot. Darren could as well. But Brook was like their number one option. They would go through Brook, drop it down to him. A skilled big man. I think
Shaq one time said he was the best big man in the league at a point. Shaq said that, and that's because he was the only big man really doing
scoring down there.
Yeah.
Right. And see, for me, Brooks, he's tall, he's lengthy. He's good on defense in the interior. He's a good player. I know he had injuries when they had that big squad in Brooklyn. And he did what he needed to do to sustain him, a role in this league. And he is a skilled player down low. So it naturally, I guess, he got to get that on the perimeter. And he's a good 3-point shooter, especially for a big. But that is ridiculous in the sense that you just said he took 5 threes and a half when Joe Johnson, as you all know, is my favorite player, never averaged more than 6 threes a game in his entire career. Brook Lopez just shot that in a half. So to me, it's like, I get it. I think it's it is a matchup issue when you have the big being able to step out and shoot threes and it spaces the floor for everybody else. And maybe the game was going to go that way naturally anyways. Maybe there was going to be a stretch 5 that kind of came in, just revolutionized the game. I don't know. But I think it's ridiculous when you don't have any mid-range or post schematics. It's all just off the dribble drive. And a handful of players still use the mid-range. But I literally will see players, they'll either catch it and they drive, they go all the way to the hole for a dunk, or they shoot the three. And that's not fun to watch at all. There's just no nuance.
No, not at all.
And like, that's why Kawhi is my favorite player in this era, because he puts it all together, and can shoot the three and plays defense.
All right.
But no, yeah. So that's crazy though that a player of Brooks' caliber was a true center. That's like Rick Smits on the Pacers stepping out and shooting threes. And
yeah, no, yeah.
It's weird. It's weird to think about.
Oh, for sure. But I digress. On to other topics. Some other crazy shit that happened this, was the LaMarcus Aldridge, him retiring from basketball. Like when I mentioned it to you, you were like, "Really? Why do you? Are you sure?"
Yeah, I didn't even see it.
I didn't think it was real either until like I saw Stephen A. and Max talking about it. But yeah, I guess that I don't blame him in a sense that if it is health wise and you have an irregular heartbeat. And I mean, I don't know the whole full story. I don't know if anyone's if they did speak about the whole story as far as like what the diagnosis was, but he got his heart. He said his heart stopped for a little bit, and it started and just scared the shit out of him. Mm-hmm. I don't blame him for wanting to retire. Mm-hmm. Maybe the doctor said, if that happens again, or you take another hit or something happens, that could be it.
Right.
Good player. I think probably his better years were in Portland. San Antonio, he had he made a decent run there, but I don't think it was anything crazy for them to be like what they were. I mean, he was supposed to come in and be like somewhat of the next Tim Duncan of mm-hmm. that when he got traded there. Never happened. Then he just wanted to go with the Nets. So that puts a little hole in his legacy if he had one. But no, decent player. Never thought he was anything. I mean, 7-time All-Star, but I never thought his game was something to like really, be oohed and awed about. I didn't think he was anything revolutionary, obviously, but good player, and wish him the best.
Yeah, no, I think he's a good player. Was he there when Brandon Roy and Greg Oden were there?
I would assume, because Brandon Roy's, I think last year there was 08, 09, and maybe he just like he was either a rookie or is it his second year? I want to say.
Right, I think maybe they all played together for like 1 year or something like that, and off on injured. I think I might have seen a meme or something on Instagram, like all three of them played together for like 50 games and were like 42-10 or something, but then could never put it all together. I think LaMarcus is a good player. I think he went to the Spurs when they kind of broke up and then went in a new direction. So here's the thing, and I don't want to sound hypocritical. I get like older players chasing rings. I mean, everyone's done it throughout time. Like Barkley went to the Rockets and that kind of stuff. But for me, like I don't see winning a ring. Like I don't want to knock him for going to the Nets for his personal reasons, but where's the competitiveness at all? Like I still would have knocked him if he would have went to the Lakers. You know what I mean? Like Andre Drummond too. But at the same time, like I get it when those like he is not in his prime anymore. And like you said, we both hope that he gets like better safe than sorry in a sense. It's sort of like Chris Bosh, how he ended his career. But I just it to me, and it goes back to with kind of us dumping on the league a little bit, like with the lack of parity, in the sense that there's only 2 or 3 teams that can truly win a championship, and all these buyouts are just awful for the league. Look how Blake Griffin's playing. Oh, he's not washed like everyone thought he was. So, I think even LaMarcus, like I know, like certain players are like teams want to go in a more futuristic look Oh, let's give the 19-year-old fresh out of college, second round pick a chance instead of the 18-year veteran like Al Horford or something. I get that. And so if you're Al Horford, why would you want to be on like the Thunder or something? Why don't you go try to win a ring? But
Right.
at the same time, it's like LaMarcus Aldridge in a one-on-one setting in today's era at 30 something years old,
35.
years. Yeah. He still can score on anybody basically in the league.
No, yeah.
So, I think his first game in Brooklyn, like they just dumped it down to him. He was like a top option because of the injuries. Which speaking
11,
of which,
like 11, he had 11 points in like, I want to say 17 minutes. Because they didn't play him too long, but he did have, he had some buckets in like a short amount of time.
right. So yeah, it shows that like, oh, he's still a bucket. Yeah, he's probably worse for them defensively because he's just, in mud and he's old. But like at the same time, again, that's one of my biggest gripes is how do you play defense in this era? Because the referees, it's soft. They're bitches.
Yeah.
And also too, can we get rid of the screaming or showing emotion after like a hardcore dunk or something, and then immediately teeing dudes up? It's like,
Right.
come on, man. Like let us like we're in the NBA.
Like we're in the league.
Yeah, like let them play and show emotion. And I'd rather like people get in each other's face and go at each other than patting each other's ass and having shits and giggles and wiggles and all bullshit like they're friends on the court. Like I just miss the actual competitiveness of the NBA.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're gonna get it back anytime soon.
I don't think we will at all. But to make a quick point on your Blake Griffin take,
Mhm.
I did see that too. That people were like, "Oh, Blake Griffin got traded. Now he's playing so much better. Like he's dunking now and all this other shit." Like, well, first of all, just because he didn't dunk last year or any of that, he just probably just didn't want to for whatever reason.
Right.
My whole point of bringing this up is that we just see, if you've seen the Last Chance documentary, you saw Scotty threaten the organization, the Bulls organization, to sit out the whole year in their last title run just to get paid more. So to me, it's not unreal to think that Blake Griffin just didn't want to play and just claim he was hurt to get out of the situation he was in Detroit. That's not uncommon for me to think that, or uncanny for me to think that. I think that he was perfectly fine all last year. He just didn't want to play for the Pistons, so he got out of a trade that he saw lucrative for him, and it just happened to be the Nets. Coincidentally, he happened to be the Nets. But yeah, just that. I mean, Blake Griffin's Blake Griffin. He's not going to lose his athletics. First of all, he's 6'10".
Right.
He'll still be able to dunk. It's not like even Greg Oden, with all the knee injuries he had, Greg Oden could still dunk a basketball right now if he needed to. So, you know what I'm saying? That whole thing was just kind of weird to me, to people to think, oh, he got traded, now he's playing well. No, he could always probably play well. He just probably doing the best thing he can for himself to get out of that situation. And that's just kind of what it is.
Well, yeah. What's he playing for in Detroit?
That's exactly nothing.
They have 0% chance of winning an NBA championship anytime soon.
That's what to say.
Like literally 0% chance. So I mean, he can break his back for that organization, and maybe he does have a little like knee swellness or knee soreness. But again,
that's not uncommon for someone who's got knee injury,
right?
History.
And he does play above the rim and everything. And like I think some people are even justifying it, like, well, look at the holes he has playing with so many offensive weapons in Brooklyn. Yeah, now he has room to drive the lane and dunk. It's like, It's not. I mean, obviously that's going to help, but like people, and even Blake said, like, well, all I've heard the last couple of years is that I'm washed, and all of a sudden I go to the Brooklyn Nets, and then people say like, oh, it's not fair. It's like, no, they're saying you're washed because you fucking didn't try, bro. Like, I don't want to say you didn't try, but you started to settle at the very least. He got complacent.
Oh, yeah.
He's getting paid. NBA contracts are guaranteed. And what incentive does he have to go break his body for highlight dunks and stuff when he's 30-something years old?
And it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean anything at all. Like I believe they went to the playoffs a year or two ago, right? And he had a knee injury. They're literally
it was 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, and they're playing for like a first round exit as the 8 seed. I know there's
Yeah.
playing games and shit now, but like Blake Griffin went from like a perennial like contender for a decade in a sense to just absolutely nothing. And so like,
Yeah.
yeah, he gets out of there and all of a sudden he's good again. Yeah, he's I don't know. To me, Brooklyn, I know, and we've been talking about Brooklyn for the last few episodes and shit. Like that's kind of all there is to talk about in the NBA.
Yeah.
And the Lakers, and your boy Devin Booker, who you love to hate.
So that's a great segue. So let's go into this. So as you can see, the top 3 supposedly candidates for MVP this year are Luka, Dame, and Joel Embiid. Now, I have a beef with all 3 of those names being in there. I think Luka's going to win it this year, and the only reason I think he's going to win it is because I think the NBA is still trying to expand their global brand. I think that's why Giannis won last year. I think maybe his first one was, it should have been given to him. I think last year probably not. I think the reason it was to build that brand out in the Middle East and Europe more. But I think Luka, the reason that's going to happen is to build out that brand from his native tongue, native land.
Right.
I do believe that. I do believe that because if you think about it, I think I could be wrong on this, but I think was Giannis the first like non-American to win MVP? Or maybe, but not Canadian either. I think I consider Canadian to be more North America because it is North America. But the first non-North American.
Did Dirk win one?
Okay, Dirk.
Did Hakeem win one?
Hakeem. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like it's just so little compared.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's my point of that. I do believe that that's the narrative the NBA is trying to push, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're trying. It's a business, so they're trying to make money.
Right.
Do I think? And then Dame's doing Dame things. Damn near 29 points a game, 8 assists.
It's my guy.
Joel Embiid, 30 a game, 11 rebounds. Nothing wrong with that. But
are you saying Devin Booker should be MVP?
No. My reason for all this. Where the fuck is Chris Paul's name in any of this?
That's
for all you guys to think, for everyone, even Stephen A. Like, okay, Devin Booker is younger, obviously. Okay, yeah, you could claim he's a star. I don't think he's a star. I think he's a really good player. I do believe Bradley Beal's way better than Devin Booker. He's proven that. He's been an all-star without having to get sympathy from players being injured and they just putting them in there. And no one seems to mention that at all. But where the hell is Chris Paul in all this? Like, Chris Paul literally took this team from being shit last year to being the number 2, maybe even number 1 right now, seed in the West. But no one's mentioning that. We keep giving Devin Booker a lot more praise than we do Chris Paul. And I think that's really wrong. I think Chris Paul should be mentioned in this MVP conversation. Because I guarantee you, let Chris Paul take 2 weeks off and let's really see where the Suns are at.
Yeah, no, if you want to go,
they're going on no winning streak.
Right. If MVP is about literally who's most valuable, I think it's really hard to argue against Chris Paul. I have caught a little bit of the Phoenix Suns as of late, and you take Devin Booker out of the lineup, and I don't want to say they don't skip a beat because obviously he's a good bucket.
No, yeah.
But Chris Paul setting up dudes on a platter and running the offense to get easy baskets, and also going through DeAndre Ayton a little bit more in the pick and roll and utilizing him instead of just giving it to Booker to launch. That all comes through Chris Paul.
For sure.
So to me, it just kind of goes to show how valuable or invaluable Chris Paul to Devin Booker really is, in the sense that a point guard who's actually dictating the offense, like you said, you pull him out for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I think they just go back to being the Suns as the last few years. Now, we do know many Suns fans were based out in Arizona, and they'll say, well, they were clicking in the bubble. They were starting to get hot at the right time. Like they were going to succeed anyways this year. And maybe they push for an 8th seed playoff spot or the play in or whatever. And they
Right.
probably were going to ascend because they have young players who are getting better in a sense. But then you added Chris Paul, who was playing at an MVP level in Oklahoma City with a bunch of role players
No, yeah,
and made them competitive. So if you
exactly.
put Chris Paul on a competitive ascending team with some top flight ascending players like Booker and Ayton and the rest of them players over there.
The bums.
Yeah,
You don't know nobody else but those three. Say,
I
I'm
know
trying to think of other players. I can't name them.
Cam Johnson, something Bridges, not the good one. Just
I know you're talking about. I
defender.
seen him. That guy is trash. He's tall.
Who else they got? They got. Point being, Chris Paul runs the show. You know what I mean?
No,
So
for real, like, and I'm not saying you could. No, I am saying actually, you could take. I think you could take Devin Booker off this team, and Chris Paul will still be able to get them in the 8th seed of the playoffs, like he did with Oklahoma.
right.
Because they don't have a number 1 pick. You can keep Ayton on this team. They didn't. Oklahoma doesn't have a number 1 overall pick. I think Chris Paul could work with Ayton. If Devin Booker wasn't on the Suns team, I still think they can make that work. Having being Devin Booker the number 1 option of scoring, that obviously it's a plus. But I don't think Devin Booker's the reason this Suns team is prospering as it is. It's really Chris Paul. I really do believe that Chris Paul needs to be mentioned more in this year's MVP conversation. If let's just say if somehow, some way the Suns end up in the finals and winning the whole thing, it should be Chris Paul that wins MVP of the finals if that were to be a thing, because there's no way. We've seen Devin Booker try to put this shit together. It didn't work out. Just because they went on, and I'm gonna put it like this. Yeah, the Suns won 8 in the bubble. Yeah, Devin Booker hit that last minute buzzer beater to win the game. You also got to remember some of those teams that were in the bubble that probably played the Suns, those 8 teams. I don't recall who all 8 of them were. Just comment them. But I'm more than likely either they weren't going to play in the playoffs, or they were a playoff team, didn't really care to go that hard against the Suns. I guarantee that, because there was still 3 more months of basketball that went on than that time in the bubble. And those teams that had something to play for were just going to go in there, play the Suns, because the Suns were nowhere near making the playoffs. They were just finishing out whatever little season they had left. And they were just going to get their run in and get a little conditioning against the Suns at that time. So I don't buy too much into the bubble. I still don't believe the bubble for the Lakers should count that championship, but it is what it is. It's going to count. Because look at what happened with the Heat. As I always keep saying, the Heat, if the season would have went as planned last year without the pandemic and everything, the Heat definitely weren't going to be in the finals at all.
Right.
That wasn't going to be a thing. So yeah, I don't buy too much in the bubble, is what I'm saying. So I think Chris Paul my whole point is to be mentioned more into this MVP conversation this year.
No, yeah, I agree. And just to bring it all home, some teams, some players can, like, wing scorers, Kobe, Tracy, Dwayne, Joe Johnson. You got players who are wing scorers that you can build your team around, your identity, your offensive system around, that not only can get a bucket, but also can facilitate as well. And to me, and call me casual, and yeah, I'll admit I don't watch a ton of NBA, let alone Phoenix Suns. But I've played the game for 20 years, and those of you who know me, y'all know what my IQ is, in a sense, not to toot my own, but Booker doesn't strike me as a player who makes his teammates better and creates opportunities for others. He does look for his shot. And if that's his role on a team, fine. You need, shooters, you need scorers. but he's not as valuable as someone like Chris Paul. Those people I mentioned, Dwayne Wade, Tracy, Joe Johnson, even like Paul Pierce back in the day, Kobe, obviously. Those guys not only could score better than Devin Booker, were bigger, could maybe Booker's a better pure shooter in a sense because of this era. And, I mean, he's a good shooter. He's a good player. But like, I remember watching those guys at a different level of being able to draw double teams or create for themselves, but also create opportunities for their teammates. Whereas Booker, every time I watch him, he just is kind of looking, he's just looking to score. And that's not necessarily what you can build your team around. Because if he's not having it, like if he's not getting buckets, and he can get hot like any other NBA player, if he's not in his zone, then the Suns just kind of go as he goes in a sense. And they're not manufacturing other baskets outside of Booker. And so what a point guard like Chris Paul does is, regardless of Booker, he's going to facilitate an offense. And, also Chris Paul can score. Someone told me that, they like Ricky Rubio a lot. And I said, well, he's not Chris Paul. And they're like, well, it's pretty similar. I'm like, no, it's not at all. Chris Paul. Like Chris Paul, like Ricky Rubio is like an average point guard. Chris Paul has a little bit of the Steve Nash syndrome, to where like Chris could go for 20 a night, but he chooses when he needs to score and shoot and stuff like that. His job is to run the offense and to get dudes buckets, but he can score. I don't think Ricky Rubio can just go get you 20 like that. You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm taking Mike Conley before I'm taking Rick Rubio.
I'm taking. Yeah. So to me, like you said, your point, I think Chris Paul deserves more love. I still think Dame deserves love, period. I think he's
sure. I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm just saying where's Chris Paul love at?
But yeah, especially at this stage in his career,
what he's doing. Yeah, like if we're gonna hold LeBron to such high praises for wherever he goes, he makes them a championship contender. Chris Paul took Phoenix. Like Phoenix hasn't been good since Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire were together with Mike D'Antoni. That's the last time we were good as a basketball franchise here in Arizona. And Chris Paul came in, and he's, granted, pandemic, whatnot. This year they were able to play at least 72 games this year. They're able to.
Yeah, I think so.
He was able to make that change with this organization. He got them off to a good start. I guarantee you, if he wasn't there, the Suns would either have their same old lousy start. So I just think that needs to be recognized. I think he needs to be more up there, opposed to Joker and Joel Embiid. I do. That's what I believe. But he's been 15, 16 years in the league now, so they're probably just not going to do that. And it's kind of messed up. But if we're going to hold LeBron wherever he changes, Chris Paul is the exact same way, just a smaller Pitbull version of that.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to know y'all's comments out there. Is it Booker? Is it Chris Paul? Who runs the show? Is it Earl Watson? I don't even know if he's their coach anymore.
Not even there no more.
But yeah, no, let us know. That's a good point that you bring up for sure.
No, we're trying, man. But yeah, once again, y'all, sorry about the last 2 weeks. Quest been kind of sick. Trying getting over it. Me with shit. Life, man.
And I got the vaccine too. I was out for a few more days. And we got some other things in the works as well.
And please check out. If you haven't noticed, we have renamed our organization Quest Groove Network. Test run will still be through that. Keep your eyes open. We're gonna have some more shit coming out. And once again, tell us how good of a job we're doing.
Or how really good of a job we're doing. Or how shitty of a job we're doing. Rate us, Yelp, iHeartRadio. No, we're gonna be coming to other platforms. So wherever you're watching or hearing this, you know what time it is. We're gonna set sail, Quest Sparrow. That's Groovy Mike, aka Magnet. You know what time it is.
Just keep an eye out for all the other shit.
Yeah.